Hey guys, it's Strawberry Bun again. So today I'm going to do a follow-up to my GWO defense video, and I'm going to do a guide on GWO offense. So the way I'm going to format this guide is come up with possible monsters that you guys can use on GWO offense. So I often hear people, whine about how they get screwed by procs in GWO offense, but when I look at their monster box, they don't always have the optimal monsters built for GWO offense. So I understand that not many people have access to OP net 5s, such as Feng Yan, and therefore hopefully this guide will help you optimize some net 3s and net 4s that can help you get greater success on offense in terms of Guild War. Okay, so the format that I'm going to do this guide is I've come up with a list on the top, as you can see. I'm going to discuss each monster in depth, and if you guys can go ahead and build these monsters, you'll notice that your success rates will be a lot higher when you start playing Guild War and on an offensive basis. Okay, so I'll cover the monsters first, and then I'll come up with a few comps that you can use these monsters against. So the first one on my list, as you can see, it's Chloe. Okay, so Chloe has it's not really popular on AD anymore due to the vast amount of strippers that have been introduced into the game. But people still fail to recognize that Chloe is actually an insane monster on Guild War offense. With the abundance of Orions on Guild War defense, Chloe actually mitigates the risk of that little clown messing you over. The reason why is she actually gives 2 buffs, and she prevents your units from dying from a flurry of procs. So say for example, if an opponent has a Tiomas, this invincibility and immunity alone sort of negates all of that altogether. So you want to throw a set of shield on one of your monsters, and that will give a total of 3 buffs on all your monsters once Chloe gets her fanatic off. And the Orion can only randomly remove one, so it sort of mitigates the risk. And the thing is, Chloe has 111 base speed, while Orion only has 106. So it's going to be a lot easier for Chloe to outspeed Orion when you bring her on Guild War offense compared to an Orion on Guild War defense. So assuming equal rune quality, a Chloe is always going to outspeed an Orion. Okay, so I've actually done an in-depth guide on Chloe on my YouTube channel, which you guys can check out. But the way to build her is you want to give her your fastest swift runes, and just try to go for tanky stats whenever possible. Okay. Next up the list, number 2 on the list, it's gonna be Copper. And if I had $1 for each time someone said they got wrecked by a Ritesh procking them to death, Copper is really the star of the show in one-shotting Ritesh. What I like is a 70% crit rate, because if you pair him with Imacity, he's always gonna one-shot that Copper. As long as you can deal upwards of 50k, you should be set. Okay, 100% crit rate Copper can be paired. If you can build 100% crit rate Copper, that'll be great as well. It can be paired with better support units like Emma, Delphoy, or Olivia. Those will work as well. But if you don't have a Copper, I strongly recommend you building one. Okay, the rune build that you can build for him is you can go for Rage and Guard, recommended, but any combination is fine as long as defense, crit damage, defense. You can see mine is all around, it's basically a set of guard here, and I just get blade offset just to meet up that crit rate. So broken sets can be used as well, just to bring him to the optimal stats. Okay, next up on the list, it's Bulldozer. Okay, so Bulldozer, I personally feel that Bulldozer is the #1 must-have monster on Guild War offense. I would strongly recommend building yours with a 100% crit rate. So the reason for this is that way you don't always have to pair him with Imacity. 100% crit rate allows you to bring the units that I talked about with Copper earlier, where you can sort of bring Emma, or you can bring Olivia. So the thing is, Bulldozer awakens to 15% crit rate. So it should be a lot achievable to get that 100% crit rate. And Wheel runes are recommended, but they are not mandatory. So if you can put him on the Wheel rune set, that's fine. But my Bulldozer personally, it's on the Rage Blade set. So you can see this are the runes that make up this stats. Okay. Next up, so to complement our Copper and Bulldozer, number 4 on our list, it's gonna be Olivia. Okay, so I think Olivia is actually one of the most underrated units in Summoner's War. Contours was actually nice enough. Like, if most of you guys played from way back when, she was actually a HOH monster, and if you have yours in a storage, yeah, shame on you guys. Like, you should pull her out of storage and start maxing that on Olivia. Okay, I max skilled my Olivia using actual Devilmons. Like, she has max skilled, like, aside from her first skill, like, the rest of her skills are max, and I haven't regretted it since day one. Okay, she alone can single-handedly lock down a Tiomas with glancing and attack bar decrease. So she has attack bar decrease on her third skill, and she has glancing on her first skill as well. So yeah, so with those skills, you should be able to sort of like push down the Tiomas attack bar, prevent him, like mitigate a lot of damage, and you can even cleanse people that get armor broken by the Tiomas, and defense buff will sort of mitigate large chunks of damage overall. So what I would suggest is, if you can build her like really fast on violent runes, that would be great. But if you can't, I personally actually recommend swift runes. Okay, so go for speedy stats. Speed slot 2 is a must, and just go for tanky stats overall. So this is my Olivia. She's she's on Swift Shield. So these are the that was the rune set that made up these stats. What I suggest is try to get your Olivia faster than a Kamoon. Like, I'll sort of explain why later. So most Kamoons I don't see having upwards of like about 130 speed. Like with that speed leader, even with that speed leader, an Olivia on Swift set should be able to outspeed a Kamoon. Okay, I'll go over a few comps later to explain why an Olivia should always outspeed a Kamoon. That way you can sort of get the best success rates on offense. Number 5 on the list, it's Kali. Okay, Kali is a net 3 monster, so everybody should have access like to this monster. She's a self-buffing, defense-ignoring unit, and she's only 3-star. Like, sign me up for this like unit. So make sure to build her with 77% crit rate. So you get full crits when using her as her with her skill lead. So she actually has a 23% inbuilt crit rate leader. So if you put her on the lead and you have about 77% crit rate, she's gonna crit all the time. Okay, so the way you want to build her, just go standard attacker, attack crit damage attack. So mine's on Rage Shield. I'll show you why I built mine on Shield earlier. So I'll show you why I built mine on Shield a bit later. So you can see she's attack, crit damage, and attack. So these are the rune sets that make up her current stats. Okay. Next up on the list, number 6. So number 6, I know it might trigger a few people, but I truly sympathize with the people who have yet to pull this monster. So this monster, Galleon, it's sort of, he's actually a net 5 trapped in a net 4 body, I personally feel. Like, he's the best net 4 in the game. So he shines extremely well on Guild War offense. So I personally have 2 Galleons. One that I use for dungeons, and I have a second one built for Guild War offense, like just strictly. So the way you can build him is you want to go on a shield wheel set. So mine has double shield wheel. So the way you do this is you sort of bring 2 other attackers in with him. So just make sure that your attackers. So I personally use Zyros and Pungbek. But there are just tons of options that you can actually use. Just make sure that they are speed sync. I find that this speed itself, about like 80-ish speed plus his base speed, that's often enough. So just make sure that you bring him with 2 other attackers that have wheel runes on them as well. So you want to throw as many shield runes as you can on them, and voila, you have a team that, you know, when all else fails, at least you have something to go to. So this is like your shield wheel offense team. So Galleon sort of opened this up. So if you don't have access to OP net pipes, you can always use other easy accessible monsters such as Zinc, the Dark Copper, or, you know, Ifrit, the yellow Ifrit, Akamamir, however you want to pronounce it, work really well as well. They can do like an Akamamir and Zinc along with a Galleon build, like that will work. I've seen people use Galleon, the blue homunculus, and another damage dealer as well. That works really well as well. So you just want to give them like sort of AoE hits. Like I use Galleon with Zyros, with Pungbek, and lastly I use him with Isabel as well. So rune build, shield wheel. speed, HP, accuracy. So that's how I have mine built. So you notice that most of my attackers have a lot of, I try to throw in shield runes whenever possible. Even units like my Pokebag, they all have shield will, so that way they'll be able to sort of have tanks. So as many shield runes as possible, that way you sort of mitigate the risk of one of your units going down. Okay, last on the list, number 7, it's Katerina. Okay, so I feel everybody should build a Katerina. So she is like the sole reason why everyone needs at least one stripper on their Guild War defense. I'd suggest 100% crit rate, but if you can't achieve 100% crit rate, 85 is fine. And yeah, so the standard attacker, how you should rune her, the standard attacker build, attack, crit damage, attack. I'll show you how I have mine. So mine's on Nemesis. It doesn't really matter like what you have here, but mine's just attack, crit damage, attack. Okay, so you can see these are the runes that sort of brings her up to these stats. Okay, so now that we have covered like the 7 monsters, let's look at like some possible Guild War defenses we can deal with. Okay, so the way I'm doing this is on the left, I'm gonna come up with a few defenses that we see that we see most people put on defense. So one of the most popular defense combinations is Kamoon, Tiomas, and like a wind damage deal, and like a wind support unit. So the wind support unit can be Illadrill, it can be Chasoon, or another popular one that I see is Ritesh. Okay, so how do you mitigate, how do you sort of deal with this defense? Is the way to do this is, so I'm gonna put the defense on the left side, and on the right side I'm coming up with possible solutions that you guys can use. So what I always use is Olivia, Bulldozer, and you just have to bring one support unit. Like the support unit can be anything. I'd suggest Chloe. So with Chloe, like you don't have to put your Bulldozer on real runes. That way your Bulldozer should be able to get his 3rd skill off without getting stunned. Okay, so you're gonna have like a big upper hand here. So the way it's gonna work is your Chloe is gonna move first. She's gonna put buffs on your team. And remember how I said that Olivia should move before the Kamoon. So let's say your Olivia moves next. She puts the buff on the defense buff on all your units, and with immunity and defense buff, like these 3 units are gonna move, and they won't be able to sort of deal with the amount of like sustain that you have. Even if they go like a million procs, like okay, a million procs might be exaggerating it, but even if they go like 2 to 3 procs with Tiomas, a defense buff unit with the Olivia leader should be able to mitigate most of the damage. Okay, so why did I say like Olivia needs to be faster than a Kamoon? So once your opponent gets all their attacks off, your Bulldozer is going to do a 3rd skill on their wind support unit. In this case, it's going to be Ritesh. So you want to make sure that Olivia sort of moves first before that Kamoon can get the shield up on the wind unit. So the way you do this is you sort of chip down the Tiomas first, so that way the Kamoon's first shield goes on the Tiomas, and after that you can use Bulldozer's 3rd on the wind unit. Get Olivia to cleanse him in the event that the wind unit doesn't fall to the 3rd skill, and you just follow up with a 1st skill. So most wind units that I've seen shouldn't be able to tank that much damage. Like say for example you're dealing like 18,000 to 19,000 on with 2 hits. That's about 40,000 damage, or close to 40,000 damage. And with Bulldozer's 1st, that should be about another 8,000 damage. So that Ritesh is going to have insane amounts of HP if they're able to tank your Bulldozer. And with that, don't forget that Olivia brings a defense lead as well. So yeah, so the defense is just going to help that Bulldozer damage. And after that, it's going to be sort of a 3 versus 2. It should be just clean up for you from then onwards, with Olivia being able to sort of get the defense buff up constantly. Another one that I always see on offense is, so I don't have a Sierra, so I'm just going to use a Juno in place. So just imagine that she's a Sierra, okay? Use your imagination, guys. Okay, it's Sierra, Orion, and normally a Fire Bruiser. Okay, so the Fire Bruiser can often be, there are a lot of options here that people can use. Normally it's a Rakan, it's a Perna, it could be a Laika. Okay, so the way to deal with this is like bring what I normally bring is Galleon, Chloe. Let me just look for my Chloe. And Tiomas. Okay, so assuming equal rune quality, your Chloe should always be expected to outspeed your Ryan. So yeah, so Chloe, given like Chloe has a higher base speed, most Orions tend to be built with wheel runes as well, which makes it a lot easier for the Chloe to outspeed that Orion. Try to get a set of shield runes on your Galleon, so that way there'll be 3 buffs on your units. And let the opponent, so basically what's going to happen is the Orion's going to do a buff, and after that, like let all your units move on your units, then your Galleon moves, gets the armor break on the Sierra, and Tiomas just smashes the Sierra out of the picture, and then you're left with a 2 versus 3 situation with immunity up, and you should be able to pull the win there. Another one that I often see is, okay, I don't have a Fengyan as well, guys, so use your imagination. And so what I see is sometimes something like this, like Fengyan, Orion, and like Rakan, for example. Okay, this comp I refer to as Katerina, because again with Chloe there, you should be able to outspeed the Orion all the time, and that's the whole reason why I put a shield set on my Kali, so that way everybody's gonna have 3 buffs. It's gonna be highly unlikely that the Orion strips the will and stuns somebody. I know occasionally it does happen, but it sort of mitigates the risk altogether. So you're gonna have more successes than losses at the end of the day. So what's gonna happen is Chloe gets the buff off, Katerina gets a buff off, and Kali gets a buff off, and then Katerina does her Sword of Discharge. And as long as Katerina doesn't derp 3 swords onto your fire tank, Kali should be able to snipe him off quick for the easy victory. Okay? So yeah, so that's how like some of the comps that you can use. So a lot of comps do appear daunting at times, and yeah, so say for example, okay, I'll give you more examples about how you can deal with comps if you have access to the some of the monsters. Just not must build monsters, but every comp can be dealt with in a certain way if you just have the correct monsters built. So another one that I see often is so again, use your imagination. Juno is Sierra here. Okay, so it's Sierra, Orion, and maybe Illadrill. Okay, so the way to deal with this is I often bring like 2 fire tanks, 2 fire bruisers, and Arena. Another fire unit can be anybody. Personally, sometimes I use Garo, so that way Tessarion benefits from the Garo lead as well. And the Sierra is always going to target the Rina, while the other 2 fire units sort of like finishes them off. So, and another one that I see popular as well is maybe something like a Virat, Ritesh, and Perna. You can actually deal with that with, say for example, Delphoy, Copper, and Immacity. Sorry, my Immacity is in the storage. So you just snipe off so with immunity, you just snipe off the Ritesh, and the rest of your team should be able to finish them off. Like, they don't have an armor breaker, so you have a defense buff, you should be able to chip away at the other 2 units. Plus your Delphoy gives reset to the Perna as well. So yeah, that should be you should be able to win that fairly easy. So I know some defenses can appear daunting, but it's just about a strategy at the end of the day where you should be able to sort of mitigate the risk of your offense losing. So given the large pool of monsters, I can't really provide a detailed explanation of how to deal with every single Guild War defense out there, but hopefully this guide provides you with a bit of insight about how you can improve your Guild War offense and bring up that win percentage. Do feel free to drop a reply on the other monsters you find useful, or if you need suggestions in dealing with difficult Guild War defense comps. Okay, so the main goal of this guide is build the above monsters, guys. You should be able to see increase in your win percentages. So thank you guys for watching the video today. Do leave a like or comment, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.